Good evening and welcome to the Smyrna Town Council workshop to set our agenda for the February meeting. Before we move into our items for discussion, I'm going to ask Mark Adkins to do our prayer, and Hal Laughlin, if you'll do our pledge.
Bow with you. Father, thank you again for another beautiful day here in Smyrna, for just the lovely weather and the warmth and the change of season hopefully coming upon us pretty soon. Lord, we ask that you continue to watch over our town, continue to watch over us as we make decisions that affect our town. Watch over the people that serve our town, our employees, our policemen, our firemen, everybody, all the men and women that make this place tick. Go with us now, lead, guide, and direct us in all we do. Forgive us where we fail you. We ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark. Hal? Okay, we will move into our items for discussion tonight. And our first one is a consideration of a resolution relative to a plan of services for property located on tax map 76, parcel 10.00. Kevin?
This is the plan of services that's for the next two items on your agenda regarding the annexation. Pretty standard plan of services. Town will not be providing water here. It is in PUD service area, but other than that, we would be providing other services.
Questions about plan of services for this property? Okay, we'll move on to item 2, which is also talking about the same piece of property, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation of property located on tax map 76, parcel 10.00, containing approximately 19.1 acres. It's requested by S. Collins Properties, LLC. The zoning would be R3. The property is located west of Amival Road and adjacent to parcels previously annexed in zone PRD Linwood. This is a second reading.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, nothing has changed since you looked at this on first reading. This is an annexation request. It would be really dependent on the sewer being extended by Linwood, and the developer is well aware of that. But he did want to go ahead and have the property annexed into the town.
And Mike, nothing new from Linwood?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Item 3 is consideration of a resolution in memorandum of ordinance 18-01 relative to the annexation of R3 zoning of property located on tax map 76, parcel 10.00, and this is our housekeeping item that we have to do each time.
Correct.
So item 4 is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 50, parcel 12.02, containing approximately 9.1 acres. It's requested by Dwayne Beard to go from R1 to PRD and PRD to C2. The property is located on Lee Victory Parkway. The recommendation also includes the rezoning of property located on tax map 50, parcel 13.06, containing approximately 0.24 acre. It's owned by Parkway Baptist Church, from R1 to C2 as well, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, again, no changes or anything from since the first reading. It includes the requested parcel as well as the parcel that is, it kind of splits it in half. It was a road that was built as an access across the property and is utilized by Parkway Baptist Church. And the developer and the church are in discussions and working those cross-access easements out and that type of thing. I don't have anything new to report on that. The Planning Commission did recommend it, and I guess that's all I've got.
I talked to Mike Moss, and I know Mike had talked to you. Are we still working out the things with the park?
Well, yeah, Mike and I talked about it. We kind of looked at it. The best location really for access would really be from the north side, because most of the land is on the north side. So we're still kind of talking about that, working through that. But
If we feel that the access is best from Trinity Church, is that something we probably need to go ahead and visit with them about that?
I would think so, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to any questions about that for Kevin? We've kind of already been through that once. Seeing nothing, then we'll go on to item 5, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 28M, Group C, parcel 5.00, containing approximately .4 acre. It's requested by Roy Saylor on behalf of the Rutherford County Habitat for Humanity to go from R2 to R4. The property is located at 503 Enon Springs Road East, and it is a second reading. Kevin?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is, again, nothing has changed since first reading. It is a parcel of land on Enon Springs with a home on it already that is in quite a bit of disrepair, and Habitat wishes to buy that, tear it down, and then build 2 houses in its place. And to do so, at the current zoning of R2, the minimum lot size is too large to do that, and so they have requested the R4 zoning to divide it into 2 single-family lots. I don't know exactly how I think they are looking at probably doing a lot that faces Enon Springs and then a lot that faces Frank Street. I think that is what they're looking at doing. And I guess that's all I got.
That's what I was going to say. I went by and looked at that lot, and if they try to put 2 side by side, that's going to be really narrow.
Yeah.
So if we can
When I
help
talked to Terry with
encourage them
Habitat,
to the
she
other.
felt like it was going to be one
behind the other.
behind the other.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what they want to do. I think there was the sewer access was something they we're trying to work through with our utilities department. I think it can certainly be done.
But anything would be better than what's
Sure.
currently there. So I'm glad to see that this is moving forward. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the amendment of ordinance number 17-23, adopting the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget, specifically the fee schedule regarding application fee for parade and gathering permits through the Treasury Department. This is a second reading. Nathan, are you good to deal with that, or do you?
Yes, ma'am. I'm fine. Mayor and Council, this is where you had updated your parades and public gatherings ordinance, and these are the fees that would be attached to those particular applications for parades and public gatherings. It'd just be an update to the fee schedule.
This will be a second reading on this, so we've kind of already discussed this. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to item 7, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement amendment with Dempsey Dilling and Associates relative to the CEI services for the Florence Road project. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Council. As you know, Dempsey Dilling has been conducting CAI services on the Florence Road widening project. When the contractor originally bid that project, they anticipated a 480-day consecutive days of work on that project to get it completed. When I got the original CEI cost breakdown, it was anticipated for 300 days. They assumed there was about 180 days in there that they would not be working, that the contractor would not be working. So the budget for CEI was originally based on 300 days. When, which now that it's gone a little bit past the time of that it was anticipated to be completed on the project of October 27th, Dempsey Dilling was running out of money at that point. It ran out of money, and to finish out the project needed anticipated an additional $28,942.50. It looks like that's going to come in closer to around $16,000, maybe $17,000 though.
Questions for Tom on this? Is there anything left to complete on Florence with the phase and a half that we did?
It was completed as of yesterday.
Great.
Punch list is done, everything?
Yes, that was the punch list was due. They're at substantial completion around October, I believe it was October 26th, which was the day before their final completion date, and then the punch list items were just finished up yesterday.
Harry, I've got a couple of questions since this was approved and long before I was even elected. I've got some of the numbers that you guys have given us, starting budget and where we ended up, and obviously there was some significant delays. Rather than go through the history that probably everyone else here, I'm just going to send you an email if it's okay to just ask. So I just wanted some background on how this project went and where we might have best practices or learned something from this, because it seems like we kind of went south on this a couple of different ways, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would necessarily totally agree. I mean, we came in a little over budget, and primarily because we extended it down to Rebel Road, which was $600,000 additional. We put thicker binder for Steel Technology and Topre America, which will be reimbursed for. we had a stormwater pipe that it didn't anticipate it being ruptured, broken under the ground. We had to go dig that up. So in retrospect, there may have been another change order, a little run over here, but those are sort of the things that delayed us. The thicker binder, the under the road repair work. I think we came in, how much over budget? 170,
Yes.
something like that. So, but you know, your point well taken. I mean, I think we learn every time we do another project.
Well, those kind of details help, because, you know, what I get to see is what I see here. And I see, you know, delayed by 3 or 4 months, and then this one document that's up here shows total overages of 1.4 million, which is almost 33% of the original amount.
Yeah.
So that's a big number, even if it's justifiable, which I assume it is. But that's why
Well,
I just want to. I'll send you a note, and you can kind
Sure.
of go from there.
Just quickly, again, 600 of that would be for extending it into the second phase of what we were going to do to begin with. A big part of it was the thicker binder, which will be reimbursed for, and there might have been another expense, but by and large, we came in a little 100 plus more, and I think it was for the piping and something else. But
Okay.
you know, point well taken.
And you weren't here when this was kind of all getting started, and initially we thought it was just going to be Topre, and we only are allowing them to come out of the gate and go left, and that's where the thicker binder is. And then Steel Technologies came on board, and so we wanted to extend it, which extended it on into the second phase. So really it's like 1.5, because it didn't go all the way as far as the second phase is planned to, just to Rebel Road. So
Okay.
but to get those two industries here, we had to do the thicker binder, and they're ponying up for their portions of that. So
Did we extend the time on the project when we extended the length of the project?
No, we did not.
We didn't?
It was still anticipated to be 480 days.
Okay.
the only thing I would like for us to continue to look into is sidewalks continuing on to the park. I think that's going to be something really important. I think that park is going to be really used by the people in that neighborhood, and I'd like for us to continue to try to find a way to fund that.
Have one of you guys, it seemed like we had a discussion about applying for grant money for those sidewalks. Kevin, weren't you looking into that?
I was, and I believe the NPO is finally, I guess, coming soon, is going to have their next round of grant applications through their AT, the Alternative Transportation Project grant program.
Yeah.
So we will be submitting for that.
Well, can we lump into sidewalk requests? I know they like to do bigger projects, correct, on sidewalks? I mean, can we lump that in with Nolan Road sidewalks or something and make that a bigger project for them?
I don't know if it'd be in two different locations like that. It might be, we could certainly ask for both, but it would probably be two separate projects, I would think.
Well, I can tell you this, sitting on the MPO board, all of them ask for, they don't get them all, but they ask for, and I think we need to look at everywhere we want to put new sidewalks in across the town and look at doing that. So we've got more and more people that are walking, and sometimes they're walking in places that just are not safe. So.
Refresh my memory, wasn't it the Army Corps of Engineers who required didn't they require a different surfacing of that road, or a thicker, or some type of?
No, it was the run, we had to deal with them in regards to the stormwater and moving the dirt from where we were gonna put the stormwater out.
Yeah, there was some impacts to the 100-year floodplain in a few places by elevating the road, so we had to find an area to excavate out about 1,000 cubic yards for cut
Did we
fill
do it at the park?
compensation. No, we did.
We ended up, but we looked there, didn't we, at Sharp Springs? Yeah.
But I think to Lori's point, the additional requirements added both time and money to the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, the really good thing is now we have a nice road out there, so we've made it.
It is nice.
It is nice.
It was seemed like
Okay.
painful, but it's nice.
So item 8 goes along with item 7. We've kind of somewhat already talked about it, is the approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a change order number 6 relative to the Florence Road widening project. Tom, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, this amount basically covers all the additional over excavation because of some bad soils that they hit that was not anticipated in the original design, and backfilling those areas.
Any other further questions about Florence Road? Then we'll move on to item 9, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Gresham Smith and Partners relative to the engineering design services for improvements to Rotary Soccer Park in downtown Smyrna based on the hydrologic and hydraulic study. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Council. As you know, we completed the hydrologic and hydraulic study a few months ago by Gresham Smith, and now they provided a cost proposal to take that design, to take that design and those engineering calculations to turn it into construction plans to be able to drain water out of Rotary Soccer Park, as well as increase the drainage from downtown to Rotary Soccer Park. Those would be put together as one set of construction plans, but we will bid them as a phase 1, phase 2 in the event, depending on how construction costs come out. So it'll be it'll be kind of like how Florence Road was bid out with 2 separate bids, one for the cost for construction of the Rotary Soccer Park work, and then one for the construction of the stormwater system for the downtown area as well.
Questions for Tom about this?
Do we have any idea of what path they may want to take?
You mean as far as
to the creek?
To the creek. What they're looking at doing to save money for right-of-way acquisition and to not have to go in and condemn properties and take properties is to go down Mayfield Drive, to go south from Soccer Way, I believe it is, and go down Mayfield, and then just before the curve of Mayfield, directed towards Stewart Creek at that point.
Other questions?
Will they have to deal with moving the water more effectively under the railroad?
Yes, and that's going to be part of the downtown side. I believe that the design included 2 72-inch steel pipes to be bored under the road, or bored under the tracks, and then I believe they're going to slide, I believe it's 52, 54-inch concrete pipes in that steel casing.
Ought to do the job, shouldn't it? We think
Better.
anyway, huh? Who knows?
Otherwise, this will be my last meeting.
We can bury you in one of those pipes.
If the Britney Spears wasn't your last meeting, you're probably in good shape. So.
Old Tommy Hoffa, right?
Any other questions? Then we'll move on to item 10, which is consideration of the adoption of an anti-bullying policy to be included in the employee handbook. Jeff?
Mayor, Council, recently the TASER, or the Tennessee Advisory Council on Intergovernmental Relations, which is a mouthful, recommended the adoption of an anti-bullying policy for municipal governments. And so what you've got before you is our draft of that. It is based off of the version that TASER recommended, as well as some feedback that we got from the policy Brentwood uses, as well as some information that we gleaned from the Society for Human Resources Management organization as well. So Mr. Gill and I and our legal counsel reviewed that and feel comfortable with presenting this and adding this to our employee handbook. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
You know, I noticed that it talked about in the course of work and at the workplace. How would it apply, or would it apply if an employee was bullying another employee through social media after hours or whatnot? Are there any protections that way from the town from a legal perspective?
That's a good question, Tim.
It doesn't really address that
Cyberbullying
issue, so we may need to add.
Is that something you all can look into? Because I was
course.
getting ready to ask the same question. I think it's something with technology like it is today, I think we have no choice but to look into that.
I think it would be good to connect with the schools too, because you know they've been dealing with that for some time. I know my tenure down there we had to, so that would be a good resource.
Well, you know, there may be legal defenses or remedies available when it occurs outside, but you know, from an HR perspective, if an employee approached you and said, hey, my supervisor or an employee from another department put this on Facebook, or they sent me a text or something like that, I just want to make sure that we're protected.
Well, the statute provides us protections if we have this policy in place, immunity from lawsuit. I don't think it addresses outside of workplace from what I read in the statute, but we can definitely add that if it would make you all more comfortable.
Well, and not only just from a legal perspective, but just
Sure.
from, the care and safety of our employees.
I agree.
Reality is that's more likely where it's going to happen anyway.
Mhm.
Is that something you feel comfortable with being able to get back to us prior to our meeting, or do you think we'd be better off to wait and give you till the next workshop to bring it back to us?
I don't think it'll be a problem to get something drafted before the next meeting.
Okay.
I think it'll be an issue.
And on a lighter note, do we need a council section to protect us from your Esther?
I was thinking from the town manager.
I was just curious.
You're supposed to say no, Jim.
No comment. I don't have to comment on that one at all.
Okay, any other questions? No comments, but questions. We'll move on to item 11, which is an appointment of one member to the Arts Commission to serve an unexpired term ending in 2019. And we will do that because Ms. Williams was unable to fulfill her term. So we'll take care of that at the meeting. They've, Diane and them have added all of the ones that have previously put in that were interested in serving. And I'm assuming we'll take more applications until the meeting. So if you're interested in serving on the Arts Commission, you can get online and submit your application. Item 12 is approval of the terms of an authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with the Ingram Group relative to high-level general consulting counsel as well as government relations services. I talked to Mr. Gill about this. Going to the MPO meetings and being in Nashville, so many of the other communities are looking at hiring consulting groups to be their eyes and ears in Nashville. And I think Mr. Gill has talked to some individuals from the Ingram Group as well as myself and felt like that they may be a group that you all needed to hear from as well. I don't want us to get behind. So many other cities are already doing this, and I think having individuals there on a daily basis is something that would be good for us to look at. It sure would be a lot less expensive than having an employee that's trying to do that. And so I just wanted you all to be able to hear the presentation. Mr. Gill, anything you'd add?
You did a nice job. The only thing I would say, I think it could become the conduit that helps us see some projects through that we otherwise might not see done, see completed. I think we would have regular dialogue with our lobbyists. We as a council and the staff would identify items that we would like them to lobby for at the state level. I just think it's a sign of the times. Like you said, other municipalities will do it. Murfreesboro's done it for a long time, which may be why they're getting some things that we're not getting. So, and if we get, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in and we see it's not paying off, then we have an option to step right back away from it. So,
And I agree with everything you've said as well. I think we have to think more than just lobbying to the representatives that are there. I think we also have to think about TDOT and TDEC and all of the groups there at the state that they have relationships with, that they can help us foster better relationships with and moving projects forward. I think we hear quite a bit about the delays it takes with TDOT, and I think, would you agree, Tom? So I think they could be a big benefit for us. So I have asked them to come and speak tonight, and Beecher, are you going to be the one speaking? Great. If you will come forward, and who's got the microphone? Oh, there we go. And if you'll just state your name and where you're from.
Beecher Frazier, live here in Smyrna. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. It's an honor to be in front of you all. First, thank you all for offering yourself up for the public service that you give. And I feel a whole lot better about standing here since you all have already addressed the bullying situation. So I think that we can proceed in a calm order. I've lived here in Smyrna myself for 23 years now. It dawned on me on my drive over here this evening that I have now lived in Smyrna longer than where I'm from, Cumberland County, where I grew up on a beef cattle farm. So that's this is home. And to see, I can remember driving down Sam Ridley for the first time as 2-lane road, and Wendy's wasn't even there. And to see, I don't have to tell you all the success that the town of Smyrna has had, because you all have been part of that and seen it on a day-to-day basis. And part of that is change is inevitable. But within that is how you position yourself within the conversations that take place, whether it's infrastructure for roads, whether it's economic development with companies and corporations that look to locate into new areas or whatever it may be. It's being able to have that relationship with the people and have the dialogue. You can send the mayor down every day, and they may tell her one thing in that meeting, but it's the conversations that happen after that and knowing the backstory and knowing the history and dialogue that helps you get there and position yourself. And, you know, Middle Tennessee has just exploded. Nashville's filling up. And Smyrna, it needs to be, and it's, you all have it headed in that direction for sure, in all those conversations when the big companies look to locate somewhere, it needs to be here. And so we do everything. Really, it's hard to describe what we do when I say we do it all, because we really do. We represent, you name it, companies all across the board, universities, nonprofits. Most of our background is from here in Tennessee. I have with me tonight one of my colleagues, Matt Russell, who's native here in Middle Tennessee. He stays at the state legislature every day. And I was glad the mayor pointed out, it's not just the pinpointing with the legislature. It is really those key relationships that you have within TDEC and EC&D and in TDOT. And, you know, I would see us as your advocate and just an extension that works in hand with the Chamber of Commerce in addition to. I think that that's the way to think of us, and we can be extra eyes and ears for you. And there are a lot of the cities, you know, I think there's now somewhere between 15 to 20 of the larger cities in the state that have their own representation outside of TML. So for me, it's pretty simple. It's personal because I live here. So I promise you, you will get the best representation you possibly can. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm always accessible. Just ask Mike Moss, because I've had the blessing of serving on his parks board for the past 4 years and enjoy that. And so it's important to me to be able to help home.
I do have a question, a couple.
Not you.
In the packet that you gave us some information about initial thoughts and processes that you could look at. One of the questions that I've had looking over this is, to protect both you and us, how do you, or what processes do you use to communicate back to us the work that you're doing? You could have a backdoor conversation about getting TDOT to do something, and it actually happens, but how do we know that Beecher Fraser and his team or the Ingram Group was the ones that actually helped push that along? Is that a quarterly, monthly process, that kind of thing?
It's however you want it to be. I would assume that it would be with whoever the city, with Mr. McGill or with the mayor on a regular basis. You know, prefer not hourly, but definitely weekly. And plus, too, one of the things that we always do, regardless of what it is, whether it's a Google or whoever it may be, is we always sit down at the outset and do a deep dive and figure out what the priorities are. You're not going to get everything that you want, but if we really focus in on the 2 or 3 priorities, we go after it and get it. We stay focused and not try to chase every rabbit down every hole.
Fair enough. I would just hate to get to the point that 6 or 7 months from now we're back to this and we're thinking, well, I don't really know what they've done, but you guys done a ton.
Oh, that won't be a problem.
And then we make a decision that we regret later, right? I
Sure.
want to make sure that we're protecting each other.
Absolutely. And I mean, we you know, everything you share with us is confidential, so you don't have to worry about anything in that regard, especially from city special projects and things of that nature.
And I also noticed that I didn't see any government organizations listed that would directly compete with us, but that might be something other folks are thinking. If you're in Nashville representing multiple clients, which I don't know if that's the case, but how do you handle that situation?
We do not represent another city in this capacity.
Okay.
We do work for actually the city council of Memphis, but it's just there's no. Yes.
Yeah, I understand. They can keep the Grizzlies. We're good.
Beecher, that was
Yes,
one of the
sir.
questions I think Steve just asked, that when I looked over this email about the services you've provided for a lot of the companies and firms. I didn't see governmental backgrounds there. Can you speak to that a little bit, how you would be able to?
What do you mean in governmental?
Well, I mean, you got Southwest and Xerox and Google and Ryman and some of these other companies, and I get that. That's what you do. You try to bring business to the area. But can you speak to how your connections work in a way that would benefit us as a governmental society? In other words, with the TDOTs and with the MPOs and so forth, what you're in there that we don't have?
I don't necessarily want to imply that we have an end that you don't have, because obviously being the town of Smyrna, you've got the best end of anyone. But what you don't have is a daily advocate that is in conversations with these folks on a regular basis on a multitude of issues that may or may not even be directly affected to the city at that time, or the town. Always, Mary Esther slaps me if I have to call the city.
We got a bullying policy.
Yes, I'm glad. I appreciate that.
Now you see why I asked.
But that's true. That's a good point. It's really, I mean, you have, for the town to be competitive.
I'm trying to understand the link of the benefit of the link.
It's really the same.
Okay.
Truthfully, the same thing we represent a corporation.
Right.
It will be doing the same thing for you as the town on your behalf. Because there may end up being 4 or 5 things from a legislative perspective that would really be detrimental to what you're doing here, that will put regulations on you in the future where you can't do things. It's no different than a corporation or nonprofit having the same thing. Where it enhances is a lot of times with grants, different things, knowing when things are going to become available. Also to be able to have conversations with people outside of normal meetings and really push for it. That's why I say, you name it, we do it. We don't just focus in on lobbying elected members of the legislature. We do it all across state government, federal level, local level, the whole bit.
Can you give me an example, Beecher? For example, 2 or 3 agenda items down, we've drafted a resolution asking for support for widening Amelville Road. It's very important for us at some point to have a Rocky Fork interchange. How can you help with those type of projects?
Well, making sure it stays at the forefront of the people that are making those decisions, quite frankly. I mean, you can't do that on a daily basis. You got to run the city. The mayor can't do that. You all don't either. But it's reiterating with those folks that this is a priority for this area. It's got to be had. And it's just being an advocate and making sure it gets done and pushing. Because, listen, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, done just about everything. But if you're not persistent in the right way, not in the wrong way, but in the right way, it's not going to happen.
Squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel kind of verdict.
We
Plus,
talked
I mean, there's even government entities within itself, TBR, for instance,
Yes, ma'am.
until last year when John Morgan resigned. But, I mean, they even had their lobbyist on Capitol Hill, and it's not uncommon. I'm sure that Jeff Peach will really appreciate it, staying up late at night, sending us emails at 1 o'clock in the morning of updates on what's going on in municipalities.
It really is making sure that the town of Smyrna is in the conversations. And if you don't have an advocate there, and we have a team, I would be your main. I wouldn't let anybody else be the main person. That's I'm just letting you know that. Pretty selfish in that regard. But it's making sure your story is told, and taking Mike to meet with the Brock Hills within, with TDEC. It's taking whoever else to, something happens with the AG's office or with TDOT, going to see him, Paul Diggs and all those folks. I mean, that's, we're the easiest people to hire. We're also the easiest people to fire.
I'm kind of like Steve, though. I'll be curious, maybe through the weekly communication that we get through Tiffany weekly, that those updates can just be added to that.
Sure.
Well, and that's something, if we choose to bring them on, we can ask them for weekly updates from them that they supply to us, and then that's dispersed to all of the council. But so what I've noticed, like just being at MPO, there's so many things that change, and that's only on a monthly basis. So on a daily basis, I can't imagine what all takes place down there. When we're going down there, it's usually for a specific reason, whether it's for a new road or something with utilities, state revolving fund. We have a specific reason, but how many other things are taking place that we don't know? We've not been informed about. because we don't have somebody down there. So that's what I'm most excited about with this, is the opportunity that they bring to us about things we may not even be aware of at this point.
You know,
And I'll go ahead and tell you, things won't happen weekly, every week. So I want to make sure that's the
Sure,
expectation.
sure.
I just believe in being forthright in that.
Sure.
You know, I think to follow up on the mayor's point, you know, I can't tell you the number of times that we have, like Tom and I in particular, Kevin, have conversations about, you know, we got to get with TDOT to get this done. We got to get with them to get that done. And things that we don't, I mean, it detracts from our everyday projects. Same with Mike. There's so many answers we got to have from down there, and I really believe that you could be the conduit for helping us see some of those projects through.
Are there opportunities for, I'm not sure how to phrase it, but cross-utilization, for example, if there was an Amazon that was looking, is it something that your firm could get us to the plate to be considered? Is that part of
Yes.
part of the services that would be offered?
Yes.
You know, I guess sometimes I feel frustrated because I don't feel like we often have a voice that's coming from the council, and of course us representing the citizens who elected us. So sometimes I don't feel like we're there.
That was one of the things I was going to say is when you were talking about all the state meetings and things you could help with the state specifically, I'm sure somebody is probably thinking, isn't that what we have state representatives for? But the reality is all of our state representatives have constituents in different towns. So no single state representative is going to be able to focus in on everything for Smyrna every single day. And that's, I think, the biggest advocate is having someone there day in and day out. So when the conversation comes up, even though we may not even know we need it, but Beecher or his team hears something that says, you know what, that comes right through our wheelhouse. That's something Smyrna should be in the middle of, and being able to bring that forward so that we can even be a part of the conversation.
Well, I can say this, I think Beecher has done that for us in the past.
He has,
So
and he
it's
wasn't
not-
getting
He's not an
paid.
unfamiliar name or face to us. And the good thing that I see about this, he said this already, they're easy to hire and they're easy to fire. In other words, their performance predicates whether we want to keep them or not. And I think that's probably a good value to put into play, don't you?
I agree.
Haywood?
You know, we spent a lot of years not taking advantage of outside agencies' money, whether it be the state or other entities. And over the last few years, we've tried to tap into those resources. And in some of those cases, Beecher's actually helped us out or bird dogged it for us. And I just think that there's a whole lot more out there. And in talking to him, he indicates that there is. And, to me, it's nothing ventured, nothing gained, and bringing it in a little bit closer than what it has been. I mean, because I appreciate Beecher's friendship to the community and his personal involvement in the community. I've served on the park board with him for 4 years, and he's been a very stable light on the park board and giving good feedback and good information to us. And it's kind of exciting to see what we might be able to do with him.
Yeah, status quo should never be acceptable. And I think this puts the town of Smyrna in a different level of the game.
So you said that we would be the only government municipality that you would represent in this area?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes.
Well, are you looking to represent any others? I mean,
Nope.
in the future, or
I'm
we
not.
would be it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, at least for your group, we would be it.
Yes.
Okay.
Two other points that I want to make. One is, we are not doing this because we are unhappy with the Chamber of Commerce. I just see this
They're
as
partners.
another tool in our toolbox and to work hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce. So I do not want to give that impression at all, and Beecher and I have even had discussions about that. The second thing is, I think we have to look beyond the state level and the work they can do for us on the federal level as well when we need that help. So those are just
And what Tim mentioned, the companies and the corporations looking for a place to settle, the business opportunities that this could potentially bring. I mean,
Right.
Whether it's a company like Amazon or even something smaller or something that's more unique, but it fits in Smyrna.
Any other questions for Beecher? Are you all comfortable with going ahead and putting this on the
I
agenda?
am.
Yeah.
Except take out the February 1st effective date.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. We would have to change that.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions for him? Beecher, I know
Thank
you've
you.
got a ball game to get to, so thank you.
Thank you all. Good
Thank
to see you.
you.
Okay, we will move on to item 13, which is consideration of a resolution requesting the assistance of the Town of Smyrna State Legislature delegation in obtaining funds for the state of Tennessee to widen Amable Road. This was something that we had asked Mr. Gill to put together with all of the traffic that we're seeing on Amable Road and just making them aware that we really need some help in regards to this road. Anything else anybody'd like to add, Mr. Gill?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then we will move on to item 14, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with All Coast Aircraft Recovery Incorporated relative to the assembly and mounting of the FA-18 Hornet to the Captain Jeff Coos Memorial Site. Item 14 and item 15 are contracts that we're needing approved in regards to the memorial. All of the funds for both of these items will come out of the money that has been raised for the memorial. So are there any questions about item 14? Then we'll move on to item 15, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with E. Allen Brandon relative to the marketing, public relations, and design services for the Captain Jeff Coos USMC Memorial. Questions about this one?
Not any questions, but well, I guess it's kind of a question. Did we get like the updated budget? Can you send us like an updated budget and all the funds raised just so that we can see
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright.
Matter of fact, Amber and Mike and Tiffany and I just met about that today, so that's not, and she just did an update based on, right now, we're right at about 370, was it 300? No, 317,000 left to raise. We feel really confident. We are hoping when the governor's budget comes out next week that we're going to be in the governor's budget, and feel really confident with what we have left that we're going to meet and probably exceed that.
When you say left to raise, is that, I assume some of that is maybe verbal commitments that haven't been collected? Is that actually collected amount, or is that still to be collected? Is there?
That's what's left to be raised.
Needed.
I mean, that's
Needed
what's
to be
still
raised.
needed.
I got
That's
you.
what's still
Okay.
needed. So, and if there's any, we have really worked on the really large donors at this point and the ones that are purchasing pavers. We've really not hit those smaller $10,000 to $25,000 groups. So if there is somebody that somebody on the council knows of that we need to meet with, we are happy to do that. So if you'll just let us know that, but based on who all we have meetings still left to meet with and individuals that we've not yet asked, we feel very confident that we're going to get the remaining budget. Okay, so we'll move on to item 16 under other. I know we have, Tom, you have something under other?
Yes, this is for the ITS project phases 3, 4, and 5. We had evaluated the RFQs and had selected Gresham Smith to do the design of the next the final 3 phases of ITS project, the Intelligent Transportation System. And this is, just to let you know, this is a CMAQ grant funded project. It's 100% funded by CMAQ, so the fee of $113,011.27, what they had estimated for in the proposal, will be 100% reimbursed us by TDOT.
Questions for Tom on this?
Once we get through, I mean, just kind of a timeline phase.
Well, the upside is with this project, it's all within existing right-of-way.
Mhm.
So they have to go through the NEPA, which is an environmental document, and that takes about 4 to 6 months to complete. After that, they're allowed to go into the design phase, which takes another approximately 6 months to complete that and get approval. Finally, they'll get to move on to the right-of-way phase. Even though right-of-way is already acquired, we still have items to submit, such as bid book, bid advertisement, utility plans, any relocations, things like that. That could take about 6 to 8 months to finally get approval on that. So you're probably looking at anywhere between probably almost 2 years from now before we'll get notice to proceed to construction phase to start this project.
The actual construction phase itself, how how detailed is it? Because we're not really building brick and mortar here, or
No, a lot of it is, stringing new fiber as well as, make some changes to what's in the cabinet, adding some additional, different types of detectors on the holes. And, so it could take maybe 5 to 6 months for construction time frame.
okay, thank you.
Other questions for Tom? Okay, then we will move in, anything else under other before we move into director's reports? Chief?
Yes, ma'am. Very briefly, we received notification today from TBI. We're trying to confirm those numbers, but it appears that our serious crimes in the town will have gone down this year, which is a good thing. And serious crimes are the crimes that involve like crimes against a person, such as an assault, rape, things of that nature. So there's going to be a slight drop, but we're still trying to confirm those numbers before we put it out for publication. Unfortunately, our calls for service went up by almost 3,000. So again, a lot of that has to do with the growth of our community and things of that nature, and especially in regards to traffic. Other than that, we're still accepting applications for Citizens Police Academy. It's going to be starting up here in about 2 weeks, so if you're interested, you need to get your application in now.
Right.
That's all I've got.
And we've not really talked about this, but the new computer systems, it really help with.
It does wonders. Now, granted, don't get me to do anything on it, but Todd and the dispatchers and all them can run circles on everything, and it produces all kinds of information.
Is everybody kind of settled in? I know getting
Oh
the
yeah,
system is.
they're fantastic with it
Great.
now. So.
Great. Questions for Chief? I do have something that I got a letter, and I was going to wait till the end, but I'll go ahead since you're. This is from Mike Waller, and he sent it to me on January the 17th, 2018. Mayor, I offer this note of thanks to Officer Andrew Schaefer. Last Friday, during the height of the snowstorm, Officer Schaefer retrieved my flag, which had fallen from my mailbox, onto the ground and brought it into my home. As a veteran, I take pride in displaying the flag of our nation and really appreciate this young officer for sharing my sentiments. Again, thank you, and please pass my sentiments on to Andrew. So if you will let
Please.
him know. So
If you would please email me that.
I will give it to
and,
you before you leave
okay,
tonight.
And we'll
And
make sure it goes in his personnel file.
Mike lives in my neighborhood and proudly has his flag on his mailbox, and so I know he really appreciated Officer Schaefer for.
Andrew is a local boy. Went to high school here, college at MTSU, and is now one of our K-9 officers. And he's a fantastic young man. And his dog is a jerk, but he's a fantastic young man. So do not stick your hand anywhere near his dog.
Isn't that kind of what you want out of a K-9?
Well, yeah, maybe, I guess, but still, I'm
I
not
was kind
petting
of
him.
thinking about that with mayor and town manager kind of thing.
Which one's the dog?
I will quote Jeff Craig, no comment.
Whatever makes you happy. I want to say one thing. I think we mentioned last time, my father-in-law recently passed away. He was a retired state trooper. And during my tenure here, I've gotten several letters or calls or notifications about what our police do to make the procession go more smoothly. And
the escort, yes.
But having ridden behind the hearse and been part of that, I cannot tell you how proud I was of our police force. I mean, they were at attention. They were so professional. You know, we moved right through the town, and you know, they had cars in the other direction stop and pull off, which I appreciate. And it offends me terribly when they don't stop for a funeral procession. But thanks to your guys for that, and let them know
Thank you very much,
I said that.
Thank you.
So many communities are getting away from that, and I'm so glad to see that we're not, because I do think it means a lot to our citizens, but I think it also means a lot to people who are passing through our community and see that taking place. We know that we still value the people who live in our community, so I agree.
Well, again, let me reinforce. We assume full liability when we do these funeral escorts. That's why you have a lot of communities, including Murfreesboro,
Right.
who just will not do them anymore.
Right.
But again, we continue to do them strictly as a service to our citizens and let them know that we are thinking of them in their time of need.
That's right.
So,
Questions or comments for Chief?
thank you.
Thanks. Steve?
Good evening. I'll give you a little bit of an update. I have been in several discussions with Diane and her office, especially with Tammy Thal. We've discovered that there have been several situations where contractors should have gotten business licenses for work that they do in Smyrna, and we have found a way to kind of close that loophole, you might say. And I'd just like you to know that Diane and especially Tammy have been very instrumental in doing that, and I think we've got a good solution now. So hopefully that will up a little bit of our not only business licenses but the business taxes that they generate.
Great. Collecting the, I know at the last retreat we talked about changing the dates that we did the collection of the permits. Has that been a big benefit? I know it was kind of a headache.
Impact fees and tap fees.
Yes.
Yes, and very much a tremendous improvement. Yes.
Good. Good. Okay, Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Council. Just to let you know, a little update on the snow we received a few days ago. We spread about 370 tons of salt over the course of about 3 days on the roads. Guys came in early, stayed late, and just did everything they could do to make the roads and conditions as best they could to make them passable for everyone. And we do have the salt bin is full again, so we're ready for our next round. A little update on some of the TDOT projects. Stonecrest Sam Ridley. TDOT has submitted everything to FHWA for notice to proceed for construction phase. Hopefully we will be able to, they say it takes about 3 to 4 weeks before they turn that information around, so hopefully we'll be receiving a letter from FHWA giving us notice to proceed so we can go out to bid on that project.
Walk us through the timeline after that.
Once we get notice to proceed, we'll go out and we'll bid the project. We'll advertise the project for bidding, and usually we put it out there. A project like that size, maybe put it out for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Receive all the bids. We'll select the low bidder. We have to submit that to TDOT for approval as well. Once they give a blessing on low bidder, then
how long does that take?
That could take maybe 3 or 4 weeks at least to go for them to review the bids and give an approval on it. Beyond that, once we get approval from them, we'll be able to take it to council to get an approval from you all and get started on construction.
Tom, do you find that when these companies are making their bids, they're pretty familiar with what TDOT expects?
Most of them do.
Does that streamline the process at all?
It does, because they have to be TDOT
approved
contractors as well, so that does make things a lot easier.
Does that change on them? Do you get that kickback any?
No. Also, the Weekly Swan ITS Phase 1 and 2, we are currently, well, as far as ITS Phase 1 and 2, we're currently reviewing RFQs for CEI services on that project, and we'll be bringing a recommendation to council on that probably at the next council workshop and council meeting. And both those projects, Weekly Swan, ITS, they are, we submitted to TDOT for the utility plans, bid book review, and bid advertisement. Currently, they're doing a back and forth as far as review and comment on that. Hopefully, we should get approval within the next couple of months on those documents, and the same thing, they'll submit to FHWA for approval for us to go to notice to proceed after that to construction phase.
Okay, other questions for Tom?
I do have one. I saw in the updates, I think the last weekly update, that Enon Springs extension, that the last 2 pieces of property, I think we had started the process to, I guess, take the property, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's Nathan.
Yeah, we're down to, I think, 2 properties that we haven't acquired. We've had, I personally have kind of chaired the committee trying to work through an issue with one of the property owners, and we've made a few concessions. I'm hoping that they'll take that so we can close on that. If not, we'll end up, I think, told Jeff they have to be sent a condemnation letter. We're very close to wrapping it up, but there's just 2 parcels that we gotta
Are
Gotta
those,
wrap up.
are those two parcels preventing us from starting in other parts of it?
It's,
Can we-
what's
can
the
we do
status on
something?
design of it now? Yeah, I mean, we can't start on it until we, sure.
Yeah. Really with one of the property owners, like Mr. Gill mentioned, we're negotiating some things as far as making some slight adjustments to the construction plans. But otherwise, the plans are probably 95, 99% complete. It's just making potential changes like that would be the only thing left to do. The bid book is complete as well. So those items are ready to go, and I believe the bid advertisement's ready to go. So as soon as
So
we get those,
we could be out for bid in 3 months, 3.5 months.
if we can get everybody assigned,
If we can
right
wrap
now,
those
get
two up.
recorded.
And trust me, we've been trying,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I know that. I just, honestly, you're probably gonna start getting more and more questions every month, because I think generally we've been talking about 6 or 7 of these projects for at least the 14 months I've been on the council. And even though there's lots of stuff going on in the background and everybody's doing what they can, what the public sees isn't the same. And so we're starting to hear more and more clamoring of, we approved this project and said this other work would be done first, and when is that gonna happen? So we're starting to get, I was at the bowling alley Thursday night, and a guy, I have no idea who he is, walked up and said, "You approved apartments, and where's the construction on the intersection?" He starts beating me up. So I'm trying to explain to him the background, but they don't, that's not really getting out there.
Yeah.
So I'm asking questions that they may be wondering, so they understand that things are working and that we can't move forward just because we have this issue or that issue, right? And I think that's the part that's not getting communicated clearly.
I think we may start taking applications for a right-of-way acquisition team so that these folks can see what we go through. Melissa, Melissa Scott has worked herself to death trying to get these done. And I have tremendous admiration for her for doing what she's done. It takes time, and you're negotiating with people, their property values, what they want done, and some go silently into the night, and others just stay in battle all day.
Well, and hopefully with the issues we have with TDOT, maybe the thing we just talked about with the Ingram Room might help a little bit with that in helping push some projects through. So.
And we try to avoid litigation wherever we can, because it can drag the process out even longer. So Mr. Gill and Tom and Jeff and I, we work hard to negotiate with these individuals, but sometimes they won't budge, and so we push it till we can't anymore. And we're working on these 2 particular parcels very hard.
And in one of the last, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, the weekly email memos, and it talked about, there was a statement in there about land acquisition. Is it referring to right-of-ways or acquisition by the town?
Was it on Eden Springs?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a right-of-way acquisition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions for Tom?
Just one clarification. I think we started out with how many parcels? 30 plus?
35.
35, and we're down to 2. And, I can't remember when we started on the project, but it's been probably a year.
We started right-of-way acquisition. Well, I think we started appraisals right about a year ago, and then it wasn't really until I think July or August that we started negotiations with everyone. July, August 2017 that we started negotiating with everyone.
So it seemed like a snail's pace, but if you're down here, it doesn't. We think we're paddling pretty hard.
Well, and I think a lot of this is kind of tied into just the general interchange issue, which is totally separate. And it's something, again, that, state and federal assistance is needed. And I'm not necessarily talking monetary, I'm talking approval assistance to even get that moving forward. So this project is different from an interchange project. Hopefully one day, you'll marry the two. But I think Nathan hit the nail on the head. I'd much rather see if we can do it than get tied up a year or 2 in litigation.
Yep.
And I certainly wouldn't want to get started, then have to figure out we got to reroute the road and changes some of the other right-of-way that's been purchased if we have to alter the route. So I hear some of the frustration that you're talking about, but it's something that when you do it, it takes time, and you have to get it right.
Other questions or comments? Kevin?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we do have Planning Commission next week. Not a big agenda, but we do have about 3 items that are probably going to be coming to you all. We also have do have the iPads for the Planning Commission. We will be getting them to them tomorrow. But we will probably still do a paper packet at least for 1 month or so to make sure there's no glitches or anything. Everybody still has what they need. Then also we did have kickoff meetings this week for the 2 planning projects we've got going on, the comp plan update and the downtown master plan. We will be setting up steering committees for both of those. So want to kind of put the word out to council, to the public, that anyone who would like to be involved in that, a little bit more so than just the public input type meeting, but actual maybe half dozen or so meetings through the process to kind of give a lot of input and guidance to those 2 plans. So we'll be putting those together over the next month to 6 weeks. So put the word out there for that.
Great. Questions for Kevin? On the iPads, I don't think we can assume everybody will know how to use them, so we may need some might need a tutorial.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why I want to do a paper packet at least for a month or so to kind of transition the 2. But we will be getting those to them tomorrow.
Okay.
Kevin, can you expand a little bit more on the 2 plans which are coming up? We talk about it, and we all understand what you're talking about, and the public may not grasp exactly what it is that we're trying to achieve here.
Sure. Yeah. The comprehensive plan is just an update of the plan that we did about 10.5 years ago now that got adopted, and that's primarily a land use, but it's also looking at marrying the thoroughfare plan we just adopted, certainly the parks plan that we have adopted, all those things, and making sure that everything meshes together. And so that's one of the plans. The other one is the downtown master plan, which is kind of an expansion of and building on the Lowry Street project that we just adopted, as well as again looking at some other things that we've done in that area over the last few years too, with what we've done along Front Street and those kind of things. So
possible expansion of the historic area.
Certainly could be something that we discussed. Certainly also looking at incentives for different development incentives that we could possibly offer, or either for development or for redevelopment, or even maybe some facade grants or things to help folks to maybe revitalize their building that they own, that sort of thing. So just looking at a lot of different things with that. We actually had our kickoff on that one today, and I had a lot of good discussion about things that we can do in that area.
Is any of the grant money that we had gotten a couple of years ago, is any of that grant money left?
Yeah, most of it's left actually, because we've only spent the engineering piece of that, and that is, we got our last, or we think at least our last comments from TDOT on the final design plans for that grant project this week, and so Reagan Smith will be addressing those comments, and that will be the final design plan. So we will begin working on the bid book and all of that to go to bid. We feel like we'll be able to go to bid hopefully in April on that project.
And refresh my memory, how much was it? Was it 300 or 350,000 that we
It was a $400,000 total project. It was an 80-20 grant. It was $320,000 was the actual grant money. Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Other questions for Kevin? Okay, Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. I will let Mr. Gill and yourself talk about the Coos Memorial, but it's coming right along. Also, along the TDOT line of things tonight, our Jefferson Springs Greenway extension bid opens here in a couple of weeks, so be looking for that. Hopefully we'll get some good bids on that. That is the second time we've bid that project. Also, our Outdoor Adventure Center staff's going to participate in a chamber event. The Mini Masters down at the Chamber of Commerce. So we will be sponsoring a hole, get to build a hole for a indoor golf course, and it's a good way to get our name out there. So we're excited about that. Also, Nolan Drive. I know we've had a little bit of discussion about that, but our Team has been working on that with Bard Solutions. We were at 90% plans on that project, and we've got some comments to send back to them, and they're well aware of that. But pretty nice project, we feel like, and some good connection for Lee Victory Park and also the memorial and the event center. So that's coming along just nice. And we're also working on our, or about to finish really, the 2018 calendar of events. So if it's anything like 2017, it'll be a busy year on top of these projects, but we're excited about it.
Questions for Mike?
Cedar Stone, Mike, what's going on there?
Yes, sir, and I've put it in my report, but it's basically the design team's working building specs. We've basically tweaked the last plan that we had on that in order to save some money. We've had to move some fields. We took the Miracle Field out, made that a regular field. We scaled down the concession stand. Working with TVA, there's an easement. I just say it like it is. It's a tough property out there. And the people that live there know we kind of graded that area, what we were left with. So we're looking at ways to save money on excavation, but it's moving along. We're hoping to get that to bid in April. We'd like to go faster than that, but I think with the things we're having to work with, that's probably where it's going to be.
You think you're still on track to spend the money that we allocated for this year's budget before the end of the budget year?
It wouldn't be spent by June 30th, no, sir. No, sir. I mean, by the time you get it bid out, it need to be on the street for a month, I would say, just because it's such a big project, and then bring it to council for approval, and then notice to proceed to construction. So it's quite a process, but I know that Jerome and his team are working hard, and there's a lot of subcontractors involved, electrical engineers, and to put together a lighting package. But luckily, we had a base plan already, and we've been working off of that. But we've changed some things to help with the cost. You know, there were some retaining walls in places we were able to get just grass and dirt to take that concrete out of the project, and scale down sidewalks and things of that nature. So we're pushing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Cedar Stone has a real meaning, doesn't it?
There's a reason it was named that.
It's more like cedar bed.
I think the
Stone
developers
bed.
around there would tell you exactly the same thing. But it is
all
a tough
challenging
site.
property.
And I know a lot of people said, hey, y'all started several years ago and stopped. But that wasn't the case. We did a lot of that work ourselves to save money when we do bid it out. So it would have been a lot more expensive. But there's a 100-foot TVA easement and part of it, and there's a creek there, and there's a lot of rock, and it's just a tough site. But we're going to get through it, and I think the end result from the plan I'm seeing will be something we can all be proud of. And being we've already got a 3-lane road, a fire station, and schools there, I think that side of town is really coming on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for Mike? Okay. Robert?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's been a good bit of the same for the past month as it has been ongoing, finishing up a number of projects. Give a big shout out to Building and Grounds. We had one of the projector screens for the event center's AV upgrade that was damaged in shipment, and they jumped right on that when the replacement came in just a few days ago. So that is pretty much at completion for that project. One thing I would like to do, if there is anyone that does have any IT skills, we do have an open position within our department, and application is available through the town's website for that. And that's about it for me.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Rex?
I thought Kevin just wanted another
I
turn.
wanted to change seats to go again.
Kevin's our technical person tonight.
December local sales tax was $1,057,171. That gives us a year-to-date $299,492 deficit. December state shared tax was $481,906. That gives us a year-to-date deficit of $15,685. We're working on our budget. Our goal is to have you a good draft 2 weeks prior to the retreat. If you have any suggestions to improve our financial presentation, just let me or Mr. Gill know, and we'll get that for you.
Next month's budget will be what the actual December sales were, correct?
Yes.
January have Christmas in
Yes.
it.
Yes, so
Yeah.
January will have our Christmas. Okay.
That's still a good increase over last year.
It is.
Yeah, we closed that. We had a much bigger gap in October, November. We pretty much closed that up.
The state shared's down to a small number now.
A
So.
rounding error.
Okay. Any questions for Rex?
Projections.
Thanks. Mr. Strange, how are you tonight?
Doing well. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. We are continuing to move through the I&I sewer rehab engineering evaluations. We have done the I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. We have done the interviews. There you go. The interviews, now we're moving on to the financial part to talk money with them. Once that is done, we will be bringing that to council for approval. After approval, that will start the inspection, smoke testing, jetting of the lines and all that, and then move on to construction once that process is complete. We are going to be applying for a CDBG grant, $500,000, which we may have a fairly good shot at getting, so we will see how that goes and move on from there, but we are moving forward on the project.
Questions for Mike?
Time frame on the downtown studies?
The inspection, you can't do it during the winter, has to be during dry weather, so that'll be done during the summer and fall time. Once that's done, that'll be right in the time when we're getting ready to apply for the grant, so construction won't start until after the grant, but we'll have a lot of evaluation stuff to do on the inspection and all that stuff, smoke testing stuff. So it should all come together hopefully about the same time for construction to start.
Other questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike. Hal?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor and Council. Thank you. We finally made it through the blizzard of 2018, and we've been quite busy for the last 2 days, and hopefully some of the rain holds off. We're still continuing to do course maintenance. 3 bunkers that we are totally rebuilding. We finished one on the back 9, about halfway through with one on the front 9, so we'll have one more to go on the front 9 to totally rebuild those. We started Monday spraying pre-emergent wall-to-wall on tees, fairways, primary roughs, green collars, kill all the weeds before the Bermuda starts kicking in, and have an interesting little small event that's happening this Saturday. If the rain doesn't come in, the Great Race is coming to the Smyrna Golf Course. We on our foot golf course, we have a couples group that holds events, and they're doing a Great Race event, and there 16 couples are coming out Saturday afternoon, and they're playing one hole for time as part of their Great Race event, and so we're going to accommodate them on the first hole. On the executive course, they will play foot golf that one hole and then run on off to whatever else they're doing as part of their Great Race.
Interesting. Huh. Questions for Hal?
How that week before the snow, when it was so very cold, people play golf that week?
Some do.
I know one that doesn't.
Huh?
I know one that doesn't.
Yeah.
We got probably 6 to 8
Right,
guys that have their own carts with covers on them and those propane heaters that fit in the front of them, and they dress in their winter gear and they go play. It's crazy. One day we had 60 off and it was 27.
Bet it moves pretty quick out there during that.
Oh yeah, They do 18 holes in about 45 minutes.
Yeah, do the marshals go out there with them?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks, Hal. Jeff, how are you?
Doing fine. I won't rehash all the things that were in the weekly report, but just one thing I did want to touch on. Am wrapping up a review of our compensation data, kind of our salary, our plan. Would like to report we're still in really good shape overall, very competitive in the market. About 95% of our positions are still right where they should be, so that's good news.
Questions for Jeff? Today I was at the ribbon cutting for the VITA program, which is taking place all over Rutherford County, which United Way puts on, and individuals who, I think it was family income of under 66,000. I think that's pretty close. Don't hold me to that. Can come have their taxes done for free. But while I was there, I had multiple members of the United Way board and staff come up and thank us from the town of Smyrna on what we've done in raising funds for United Way. They are very excited about where we fall in raising money across Rutherford and Cannon County. So I think they'll make that announcement at the end. But they just wanted to thank us. So thank you all for everything everybody does to make that a successful campaign.
Sure
So-
thing. Last year, I think we raised about $25,000. This year it was over 40. So
Right.
tremendous campaign this year. Thank you.
They did say the county does about 60,000. I told them, I said, we're coming for the county. They said, they're so much bigger than you. I said, I don't care. We always want to be number one. So, yeah. So thanks, you guys.
She will bully you to get
Yes.
that, yes.
Exactly. Miss Diane?
We've issued 23 business licenses so far in January, and as Tom mentioned, we are working closely with codes to try to make sure all of our contractors are licensed. And Judy has been a big help in working with Tammy in my department. I just want to give a shout out to her for all of her hard work.
Great. Thanks, Miss Diane. Mr. Gill?
I got a correspondence from a gentleman today that apparently lives on Florence Road, and he was complaining, and perhaps rightfully so, that there's a lot of trash on the side of the road. Then I've responded to him, telling him that we work with the sheriff's department, have some people pick trash up, but the bottom line is people need to quit throwing their trash out their windows. So if you're perpetuating that, stop doing that. Also, I want to give Tom Rose and 3 or 4 or 7 or 8 others on 2 or 3 occasions they have adopted Lowry Street and gone out and picked up trash and kept that tidy over time. So Tom, thanks to you and your team. I don't have all their names. And one parting shot. I'm really proud of a lot of the projects we've taken on and accomplished. I know one of the things that you guys challenged me to do was to get things rolling, get things moving. And when you do that, the more projects you take on, it sometimes appears that they're not getting done as quickly as you like. I was thinking when we talked a while ago, projects that sat on the road on the shelf forever: Nolan Drive, Eden Springs Extension, Florence. We're on the intersections, a stormwater project. Mike talked about the IT&T. The downtown master plan, we've done the assembly hall, remodified it, the depot, the downtown master plan. We're on Jefferson Pike. The mayor and I met on that yesterday. So we got a lot of things going that perhaps weren't going on earlier in time, and I'd ask that that everybody be patient. And I promise you, we're working hard on these projects. We're to the point now I'm going to put in the budget an additional position for Tom because he needs help back there. He's got enormous responsibility, and it just takes him time to work through that, and I'm real proud of what he's doing. So be mindful, and I hope grateful that we're doing all that we are doing, because we have taken on a lot of projects. That's it.
Nathan, anything from legal?
Mr. Peach has spent the last 2 days in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the U.S. Court of Appeals. He was on his way back, and apparently the most horrible traffic accident or whatever that could ever happen has tied him up, and he's been in traffic for 4 hours. So he sent me a picture, so there's proof. But it could have been a picture of anything, I don't know. But
I suggested to Nathan it was probably in front of a bar.
And I think Nathan is just taking up for him, because I bet Jeff's been sitting at home and has been watching us on TV.
Was his German Shepherd in the picture? That's all I want.
No, he wasn't, so that might not be accurate then. And we continue to work through recodification, and we should have something for you soon. They delivered a huge box of our municipal codes, so we're going through that to make sure everything is accurate before we send it to you all to review, and that's really all I have.
Great. Thanks, Nathan. Raquel?
I'd like to say thank you to all of the directors and all of your departments and Mr. Gill for the work that you all are doing. And like you said, there have been several projects that have just been going on and going. And for some reason this week I've seen Town of Smyrna trucks everywhere. I don't know what, but they've been out and they've been doing what they need to do. So I just want to say thank you all for all your hard work. And one last thing, I would like to say happy birthday to my my junior counsel, Gabriel, who turned 10 this past week. And so he's very excited to be in double digits. So.
His mind
Very
will change as those increase, won't they? You know, when
That's
he's
right.
50 or 60, you won't
That's right.
be so excited.
HT,
You got Super Saturday?
you can do it.
Saturday, the library has a membership drive. They'll give you a bowl of soup from 10 to 2. Is that correct?
11 to 1, I think.
10 to 1.
11 to 1.
11 to 1. Okay. See, that's why I tried to hand it off to you there. But there'll be some good soup there. And leading into from one book section to the other, the Read to Succeed people visited us last month, and they brought us this year's featured book. It's called Ready Player One, and we're supposed to pass it through the council. I don't know who's going to take it next.
How was it? Did you get any of it?
It is a well-written book. I like to read. I love to read, and so I appreciate a book that is that holds your interest and keeps you going with it. The content of it was kind of sci-fi, which sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't. This one was okay. And actually, I don't know, I think she said this before, but there's a Steven Spielberg movie coming out within the next 2 or 3 months that's based on this book. So, I'm one of those people that likes to read a book before I go see the movie. Of course, the movie's always anticlimactic after reading the book. But I don't know who's going next with it, but...
Who's next?
I'll take it.
Ah,
Sounds like something I might enjoy.
there you go.
Somebody told me you didn't know how to read, Steve, so I guess we'll prove them wrong.
Yeah. Well, they won't know if I actually read it or not. Right?
There's a quiz.
That's right. Okay.
Tim?
Yes, another business open, Burger King. They've actually been open about a month, but I attended the ribbon cutting yesterday. They're part of a local franchise, and they're very excited about being here, and they've invited everyone to come out and buy a Whopper or two.
Great. Anything else?
That's it.
Great, thanks. Steve?
No, ma'am. I've asked enough questions tonight. I'm good.
Lori?
The Smyrna Lions Club will be having their annual Valentine banquet or dinner and silent auction, appetizers, and it will be February the 10th. But it's not Valentine's. They're having a Mardi Gras party this time. So the tickets are $150 a couple or $90 per individual, and it's the largest event that is held each year at the Smyrna Event Center. Great time put on by the Lions Club.
Wow. Okay. Mark?
I didn't make it to Burger King, Tim. My little grandson was having his tonsils removed yesterday morning, and so I want to give a shout out to Paxton. He's 2. He's not watching, but his dad might. So hope he's feeling a little bit better today. I think he is. Raquel and HG and myself, we also attended a ribbon cutting for Faded University Barbershop over on Front Street. It's cool to see Front Street continue to grow legs and become that kind of eclectic place we wanted it to become. And so Marquise Martin has opened up a barber college there. So you can become a licensed barber by going there and learning that craft. And you can also go in there and have services performed, haircuts and salon things and things like that. So I would strongly suggest people go by and see that building and what he's done to it. It's very neat inside. And he's excited. He also will continue, if I'm right, keep the Faded Barbershop over on Sam Davis Road, too. So if you've seen that little shop over there kind of across from the Sam Davis home, that's his. But just want to wish him congratulations. And Raquel did a great job speaking at the event, and we wish him well over there. So that's
Great.
all I have.
Thank you. A couple of items that I want to make the public aware of. We have the Sister City Chili Supper, which will be Saturday, February the 24th from 5 to 7. The tickets can be purchased individually here at Town Hall, $10 for adults and $5 for children. Businesses and individuals can also sponsor the event, ranging anywhere from $200 to $50, and each one of these levels does get you a set amount of tickets. And the Senior Citizen Center is at 100 Rake Street here in Smyrna, and if you have questions, you can contact Tiffany Lawson here at Town Hall. We also have Smyrna baseball, Smyrna softball, Smyrna fast pitch registration going on now, and you can visit their websites to get signed up. The Sister City program is recruiting students for the program itself. The applications can be found on the Town of Smyrna website, or you can contact Tiffany Lawson or Casey Connard for more information. Prospective students must live within the Town of Smyrna or attend a Smyrna middle or high school, and students will be traveling to Zama, Japan for 2 weeks in July. We also have our pavers for the Captain Coos Memorial that are still on sale, ranging anywhere from $100 to $1,000. Always leaving me. But you have till February 16th if you want to make sure that your paver is at the memorial when we do the ribbon cutting. You can purchase them after that, but to be in with the initial group at the memorial ribbon cutting, you have to have them purchased by February 16th, and you can do that from our town website as well. We also have planters and benches that are for sale. Individuals or businesses can purchase those. We got to visit the site today, and it's so exciting to see that starting to come out of the ground. Today they were working on the prowl, which is going to be right there. It's amazing how large it is right there at Sam Ridley. And they're supposed to pour the concrete for that at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So if you're that way, you may want to stop in and take a look. It's really amazing what all's taking place. A couple of other items to announce: the recognition and for the Lifetime Service Award and Young Leader Award. The recipient of the Kenneth Coon Victory Lifetime Service Award went to Mike Allen, and the Young Leader to Sydney Sane, and those will be recognized at the dinner that's going to be taking place on February 23rd. February 23rd, and tickets are available. The Town of Smyrna will be closed on February 19th for President's Day, and condolences for the community of Benton, Kentucky in regards to the shooting that happened at Marshall County High School. It was a sad day for them. I will tell you, my brother-in-law is from there and actually went to high school there. So such a small world. You just never know day to day. So last thing I want to bring up is we as a city are really working on cleaning up Lowry Street, and are just asking for businesses and individuals, or individuals that have businesses on Lowry Street, to help us with this process. I know there's going to be some pains going through the process, but just know we're trying to make the community a better place. So if you have a business on Lowry Street, we just ask for your help in helping to make Smyrna a better place to live, work, and play. So anything else?
Well, just on that note, I would add that there's some things that we can't do on Lowry Street, and the public needs to be aware of that from a legal perspective. But having all of our business owners potentially buy in, we're going to have a lot of skin in the game too. And by doing that and partnering that way, it will help their business.
Right.
So I agree with, I thank you for saying that. We need that a lot.
Anything else? If nothing else, then we are adjourned.